more than Rise, believe it or not, and he's actually got a pretty positive win rate too. So Corki has kind of accelerated. There's the Lee Sin ban that we were talking about. So that's against Demo. You would expect that Cyclone have to respond with Graves here.
Yeah, I mean, Graves, if I was you, Demo, I would ban away the Graves because Sanka's has been on par with you, I would say. Demo has been really up there in terms of UK junglers, as has Sanka's. And to be honest, that's the biggest thing I'm watching this game. I'm just excited to see these junglers go head-to-head. But Graves has been a staple champion for Sanka's. It's got through the draft. Rengar going to be the one locked in?
Yeah, Rengar gets locked in. So we actually kind of hovered over the fact that Rengar has been a very powerful pick. Actually been banned a lot. It's been picked 18 times over the last week. And it's got a, believe it says, 68% win rate or something like that overall competitions. So Rengar has had a huge influence. But as
we have Kha'Zix as well, which, you know, that has been almost the kryptonite to Rengar. It's been, what do you prefer? Do you want to lock in the Rengar or do you want to lock in the Kha'Zix? Because they've both been tier 1 on 7.2, and I will just say, yeah, this is 7.2 that we're playing on, not 7.3. So the new kind of changes to various champions. It was quite a wide nerf, to be honest, across a lot of the better champions.
And actually, in the jungle, you said Kha'Zix has been the most picked jungler in professional play, 55 times over the last week. So that kind of slipped through. Rengar never actually usually made it through ban phase, so when the bans are left open, Kha'Zix was never prioritized as a ban and was always picked up.
And here we have a Jhin locked in, not surprising. We are going to see Berserker lock in the Ashe, actually. I wanted to mention this before it was picked. I didn't think it'd be this rotation. Berserker, or previously Lemon Knight, Ashe is his champion. That is the champion I expect to see him on. It's a champion that he's had great success on. Even just in this season, we saw him get, I think it was a triple kill in one of the games. We saw him basically 2v1 in one of the games as well. Ashe is a champion he's very, very comfortable on. He's got that through, but Ashe fell off a lot in 7.2 and kind of lost priority in the picks. Do you think that's going to be a big factor in this game?
It depends if you have the damage in forms of lethality to back it up. You've got a Kha'Zix now, as well as having the protection of a Shen. Ashe can actually cope with that. If you've got protection for Ashe and provide that element of cover for her, she can actually do more elongated fights. She can function in a team fight as she was supposed to do. And remember, she still provides that utility. The trifecta of marksmen of Varus, Jhin, and Ashe are still strong. Ashe has definitely fallen to the wayside compared to Varus and Jhin, but she's still up there as the third most picked AD carry in the last week.
Yeah, she's still definitely up there. I was just curious about, you know, the lack of lethality AD carry, I suppose, because MF AD carry was also potentially available.
Yeah,
but obviously Varus had been banned away, so you kind of, at this point, are looking towards the B tier picks because there are really only 2 A tier.
Yeah, exactly. And once Varus is gone, you kind of want to get your hands on the other remaining 2. So ban phase has come through here. Now remember, this is basically, we've seen no mid lane is picked up at this point in time. Mid lane counter picks becoming a real strong and actually really a sort of strong focus here. But look at XNX. They've decided that they want to focus on getting rid of any supports for Camilius. However, something like Karma is still up and available, and Karma still remains fairly popular, as does Malzahar. There we go. Malzahar is still remaining highly popular in that support role. Actually has the highest win rate of all supports at this point in time in professional play. And actually Cyclone are going to go straight for it.
Yeah, going to lock in that Malzahar. I'm not too surprised by that one at all. Misfortune being hovered there. I'd be surprised since it's not going to be a Zyra support on the side of Cyclone. One thing we haven't really talked about much is the fact that Fiora was locked in.
Yeah.
But knowing that you're going into that Shen pick specifically, do you think that that's a matchup-specific pick, or do you think that's something that Shikari just wants to go for, or is it compositional? Where do you think they're coming from with that pick?
So Shikari is a pretty accomplished Fiora player in his own right. I think I've said that about a lot of UK top laners, to be honest. But Shen,
unsurprisingly,
Shen can't trade against Fiora. Cannot trade against Fiora, as well as when you use Shadow Dash, it can get riposted very easily. You know, you find it very difficult to lock her down. And you might get locked into the split push war. You won't be pushing waves. Once Fiora gets Tiamat, you will not be pushing her back unless you go for a Tiamat build yourself. And Tiamat first on Shen is just not optimal. So you will struggle to keep those waves off towers. So you're never going to be able to shove her back, and she'll always have pressure on your turrets. And especially, you know, with your ability to dash across the map and impact team fights and the like, you might leave Fiora too much time and space, and she can just run away with things. Because I've always talked about Fiora. When you pick a Fiora, you pick a split push. That's what Fiora does. And she doesn't really have another role. So you have to be very confident when you take Fiora into Shen that your top laner is going to be comfortable sitting in the top lane, taking turrets all game.
Well, that is going to be the question. And whether your team is comfortable going for the fights, going for the 4-1 split push strategy or 3-1-1. We do have an Orianna as the final lock in here. That's going to be going up against the Cassiopeia, which is a mid lane matchup we've seen a relatively large amount in this patch. Both of these have been fairly up there, with Ryze banned away and LeBlanc banned away as well. And Corki, not to mention.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a lot of the mid lane pool sort of being taken away. Syndra wasn't banned though, not picked up either. Do you think that's a matter of composition again, or do you think this is like where do you see these guys going with these picks?
Well, I think the Orianna comes in to an element that A, it provides control for Ashe, and B, provides the shield for Ashe too. I mean, when you pick an Ashe, you do want to provide an element of protection for them. So I think that, you know, you're bringing in a big team fight-wide damage here. You're bringing a lot of team fight control with the Ashe and the Orianna, and then you're basically trying to provide enough disruption to allow your Kha'Zix to go crazy in a team fight situation. So Ashe is going to be slowing everyone down, makes it easier for Kha'Zix to get reset. Orianna going to be disrupting and isolating people where possible, or grouping them together and, you know, whatever. But anyway, all that disruption that it brings makes it easier for Demo to run away with things on Kha'Zix. I would have potentially liked to see a Syndra, though. I think Syndra can achieve a similar prospect. If she can blow someone up, you can isolate someone, and then Kha'Zix can do the same thing. Now, I've been doing a lot of research into the stats over the last week, and actually, Cassiopeia and Orianna, after those two bans of Jace, after the two bans of Corki and Ryze, they are the two most popular following that. However, Syndra has only 3 less picks than Orianna over the last week, and actually has a much higher win rate. And again, you've got to weigh up. Maybe it's something that they didn't think fit into their composition, or the mid laners weren't quite as comfortable playing.
We'll have to wait and see. It's time for our predictions, I think. So, Kiernan, who do you think is going to take this one? It's XNX up against Cyclone.
I think this draft phase could have gone anyway, and I probably would have put my bets on XNX because they look like the team to beat right now in the ESL Premiership. So, I think I will go for XNX.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on that one. I mean, as you say, I don't think the draft would have affected it necessarily, because XNX, they've been sitting pretty at the top of that scoreboard. They've only lost a singular game, never mind a series so far this season, and honestly, they are looking pretty unstoppable, and looking towards finals, I think a lot of these teams, especially at the middle of the table, that are trying to fight for that second place spot, if they do manage to get it, they've then got to look at XNX as the finalist in a best of 5. Can you take on this powerhouse? And
speaking of people who are looking for the second place spot, this result isn't this result is important to these two teams, but it's also very important to 2 other teams at the top of the table too much. Yeah,
absolutely. We've got XL and M&M, who are both kind of 2nd and 3rd right now, but basically tied in points, basically on each other's heels, and their next few matches are going to be incredibly important for them. But also, if XNX loses this game, M&M and XL are immediately going to be jumping on that opportunity, try and get that first place spot.
Exactly.
And Cyclone, if they win this game, that is going to shake things up incredibly, and XL and M&M at that point will be sweating.
I don't think you can count out Cyclone, especially when Demo gets onto a big carry jungler like in the likes of Kha'Zix, because we've seen what Demo can do. He is a monster in the right situation, and I think they've drafted a very solid composition. Like you said, you have got Lemonite, or Berserker as he's known now, on one of his comfort picks in the form of Ashe. You've got Demo on a very big carry jungler. That's kind of what we know him for. And there is a lot of protection and disruption for the teamfight situation. My only worry is that you might eventually be forced, in terms of finding an engage with the Ashe Arrow, you might be forced to try and make these engages happen because of the fact that Shen is never going to match against Fiora. When he gets Sunfire Cape, his wave clear will become a little bit better, but it is still abysmal versus a Fiora with Tiamat. So that's my one worry here for Cyclone. I genuinely think the rest of their draft seems fairly solid, but I really worry about how they're going to cope with the split push of Fiora. If played right, Shen will never be able to contend with her.
We'll have to see. I mean, a lot of it is going to be down to the actual lane phase itself. Obviously, Kerberos, not a player that we necessarily know for a defensive playstyle.
No, absolutely.
You wouldn't expect Kerberos to be locking in a Shen, especially since Darius was available. Obviously, Darius did get nerfed slightly in 7.2, so I'm assuming that's why that one's not going to be picked up.
I saw a tweet from him about 3 weeks ago where he said, "Can't believe they're nerfing my Darius." Like, was he oppressive? Like, was he being picked up? So basically, he was pretty hurt about the fact that Darius got nerfed in this patch. And again, Darius has a very limited role in a team game, and he's a little bit like Fiora, where you're almost stuck to split pushing. Although I have seen Darius pop off in team fights because they can weather the storm a little bit better than Fiora. I don't know. Shen, I think, works for the composition better.
Just quickly sorting out our settings in the background there. We're going to be jumping into the game any second, though, because I believe it is underway. And here we go, onto the Rift. Cyclone up against Team XNX. XNX's debut season here in the Premiership, but so far in first place, and they are looking to hold onto that Cyclone, however. Kind of middle of the table, but snapping at the heels of those in second. And I do just want to remind everyone, we've talked about it a fair bit, but not actually brought attention to the fact that there is only finals for this season. There are no semi-finals and playoffs, which means...
It's top 2.
Yeah, it's top 2 only. Like, I cannot stress to you guys enough how important this win is for Cyclone. They have to win every game that they've got.
I mean, it's cutthroat in the ESL Premiership this season.
Yeah.
You know, last season I think it was top 4 made it to a playoff stage, and then you work your way up. But now it's top 2. I mean, we literally have a singular best of 5, I believe, at the end of this to determine who comes away as the victor of the ESL Premiership. So every game counts. I mean, you cannot afford to drop points throughout this season. And actually, I think the pressure is equally as hard for XNX, because they know if they don't win this, if they get a draw, suddenly M&M and XL are snapping at their heels. Suddenly you have these two teams that are looking for that first and second place in a better position to contend with where you are in the table. So this is very important for both of these squads.
Certainly will be. And I mean, XNX, I think it's not just about standings at this point, because XNX are just about guaranteed. They need one more win to guarantee themselves not only playoffs, but first place specifically at playoffs. Yeah. Or not first place at playoffs, but, you know, first seed. And this is a lot now about just padding scorelines and also kind of almost showing off. It's almost like this is what you have to deal with at finals to a lot of the other teams.
Yeah. I mean, XNX probably won't be too stressed because they've got some, in inverted commas, easier matchups coming up, right?
Yeah, they've got Pariah and
Bulldog?
Bulldog, I want to say?
Yeah, I think you could be right there. So
it could be GLB.
They've got some easier matchups coming their way. But they've still got to make sure that they are on point with the harder matchups like Cyclone, because, like you said, they want to send a message to the people that they're playing against that, hey, we're a very strong team. You need to watch out for us. And they've proved it throughout this season. I mean, it is the likes of Prosfair, who I think in the group stages with Perilous Void, I think they lost every game that they played. He's now on the most powerful and the most successful team in the ESL Premiership. I mean, what a turnaround for that guy specifically. Yeah.
One thing I do kind of like in this draft that we didn't really mention during the draft phase itself is we've got a Misfortune support picked up, which, you know, there's this conversation that's been spoken a million times about Misfortune is a specific Zyra counter, right, in that support role.
Yeah.
It's also good against Malzahar, because in the same way that you can kill a plant with 2 auto attacks, it's the same thing for Voidlings.
Yeah, but also the fact that Make It Rain just means that Malzahar can't actually step up and do anything. Because of the range of Make It Rain, you are actually just forced back and back. Look at this, I mean, you just force him out and suddenly you lose pressure in lane. Misfortune is picked into most aggressive mage supports because this is kind of what she does. Aggressive mage supports, they don't have a super long basic attack range. You know, it's not as long as AD carries, for instance. They have to get fairly close to use their abilities. So Misfortune slams down the Make It Rain, procs the Thunderlords, and suddenly you can't do what you're supposed to do as a mage support, which is be aggressive and apply damage. That's why Misfortune's, you know, classically been pretty decent in these matchups. And again, you have that added benefit of the love tap, like you said, on the plants and also the Voidlings.
Yeah. Now, looking at the junglers, I think it's fairly safe to say that there's a lot of pressure on Demo in this game. Obviously, we've already mentioned this matchup, Sankos versus Demo. You know, it's like two of the best junglers, if not the best junglers, in the Premiership going head-to-head right now. But Demo is on this Kha'Zix. Now, we know Demo for being aggressive. That's the kind of guy that he is. But against a Rengar, who generally can't do anything before level 6, you want to see this Kha'Zix go more aggressive, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kha'Zix can definitely put pressure on the map, but again, Kha'Zix relies on laners that provide an element of CC, because he either has to get a good position where he can then isolate the target, or he relies on, like Shen, trying to land a Shadow Dash, for instance. But that's very difficult to do against Fiora as long as she's hitting those ripostes. So I actually think Demo might find it difficult pre-6 to actually find ganks efficiently. Maybe in the bot lane post-6, but then again, Rengar will be post-6 at that point in time too. So, you know, like you said, he should want to put pressure on the Rengar pre-6, but I don't know if he's going to have too much joy doing that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going to be about whether or not he has the leeway to be that aggressive, depending on where the lanes are positioned and such like. We are going to see an early base coming out from XNX, and that is immediately going to be that serrated Dirk picked up for Inax. So he's going to be very happy with that early bit of armor penetration. Immediately screams, I am going for the lethality build, but I don't think anyone was going to question whether he'd do that.
That's always lethality build, absolutely 100% right now. It is very, very strong. And Jin, one of the best with it at this point in time. So, yeah, I don't think anyone was questioning that. AD carries suddenly have gone from AD carry in 2017 LoL to why has my entire health bar disappeared?
Varus only hit me with one single Q. Kerberos having a bit of a hard time up in this top lane. Goes back to what you were saying about this matchup. Fiora up against Shen. It's very difficult for Shen to really even get close to the CS.
Yeah, but he's in a solid position in the fact that he's kept up with CS. He's not exactly had to burn his pot at this point in time, so the pressure hasn't been mounting on Shikari. Look at this, those. Oh, Sankus.
Yeah, Demo getting a nice bit of positioning there. Will trade very effectively onto Sankus. Can't quite get the Thunderlords. Backlund trying to get in, has used his Ghost, but Demo's dodging just about everything, and now Rippy will come in. He's got the damage. Camilius is there. Double flash out of XNX. They can't quite finish off the kills, though. Sankus desperately trying to get away. Flash forward. Will be able to get first blood. There's a second one to boot. Camilius sweeps that one. What a little bit of coordination from Cyclone.
Way too over-aggressive, though, from Sankus. I mean, he was caught out. He knew that Kha'Zix had the positioning on him. Then he turned around, despite the fact that Orianna had landed a good command attack and dissonance onto him that chunked through his health bar. At that point in time, you probably have to turn around and say, I'm pretty done here. But because Prosfair turned up and landed a Make It Rain, they felt that they had the numbers advantage. It was at that point, Camilius turns the entire boat around. And again, it was just XNX not quite realizing that rotation from Camilius had happened. And again, that could be in part due to the fact that they haven't got much vision in that sort of river area post that dragon bit.
And one terrifying
that was worst description in the world. Post the dragon bit.
Post the dragon bit. One like really bad news for the likes of XNX is you've got Flash has been burnt from Sankus. Flash and Ghost were burnt from Backlund, who is on Cassiopeia. There is no other escape tool for you. So if Demo wants to just sit in this mid lane for the next 5 minutes, there's nothing Backlund can do about it. Control
ward comes down, command shockwave available. I'm pretty certain this is going to be a thing, Munch, and Demo seems to agree with this. Very immobile mid laner is Cassiopeia. There we go.
Shockwave's already in. Backlund is nowhere to be seen. Rippy grabs a kill.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very, very telegraphed that this could be the case. Once you lose those summoners on a mid laner like a Cassiopeia, you just don't have the ability to contend with things like this shockwave and then the burst damage coming through. And plus the fact that Backlund wasn't even level 6, he had no response of the Cassiopeia ultimate to try and even buy him time to get towards turret. And yeah, I mean, he was just dead, so.
Yeah, and interestingly, that's actually kind of bought Rippy a little bit of time here because he was starting to fall behind in CS, but that's no longer the case. Because of those 2 deaths, Rippy is now not only even in CS, but also has those 2 kills and an assist up on his opponent.
And he's got that lost chapter, right? So now he's got a small item spike in terms of mini ability power spike over his opponent. Cassiopeia always has a small lull in damage output because she is a tier-based champion. You'll always find this with tier-based champions, that unless, you know, they get a steamrollering start, they're always going to slightly lull in damage output. And yeah, this could be a good opportunity for Cyclone to try and continue to exploit that mid lane. And I think with the shockwave almost being off cooldown yet again, this could definitely be the case.
So we've got a few CS leads across the board, or most specifically in that top lane. Again, we mentioned it earlier, the Fiora having a whale of a time. But here in the mid lane, I've got to say, I'm a little bit worried for XNX because one of their standout players has always been Backlund, and specifically winning lane. Backlund has consistently won out his lane every single game of the Premiership so far. Rippy is giving him a run for his money.
Oh, he really is. And again, Demo has put a good amount of pressure down. I've been thoroughly impressed with Rippy. His ability to rotate to you know, basically back up Demo in that small engage. The fact that they capitalize so quickly on the Cassiopeia summoners being down. I've been thoroughly impressed. And actually, you can see that XNX are really respecting what can happen in this mid lane because Shikari went all the way from top lane.
Oh, he is going down. Camilius gets the ult and actually gets a kill as well for himself. Not the end of the world when you've got these AP supports, though.
No, absolutely not. And like you said, this is going to be a Malzahar who will be working towards... Actually, Shikari taking a lot of damage here.
Yeah, he's going to pop out the Grand Challenge, though, going for a tower dive here. Kerberos gets a shield at the last second, gets out of tower range, though. Shikari will survive, gets the solo kill in the top lane.
Oh, wow. And now, actually, Sankus is going to reciprocate by heading towards that top lane, tier 1. But look at the mid lane Munchables. This is a thoroughly impressive push.
Base race.
This is going to be Cyclone first turret. Absolutely no sweat.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get that first tower goal, extra 400 gold in the bank for them. It's essentially getting another first blood. And well, fantastic news for Cyclone. We both predicted XNX to win this one, and XNX have been a team that have been phenomenal during the laning phase specifically.
Yeah,
obviously, they've been great later on in the game, but it's been the lane that they get their lead. Now 1k gold down at 10 minutes.
Yeah, Sanka's also picked a champion that realistically doesn't have a huge impact until post 6 in the laning phase. And although Demo didn't really do anything to punish him for that, Sanka's kind of overstepped his bounds, and what Demo has always been classically very good at is taking a lead and running with it and then absolutely capitalizing on it. He did it on his Lee Sin quite frequently, and now he's trying to do it on his Kha'Zix. I think the big lane to look at though, and you highlighted it lovely, you know, a little bit earlier on, that mid lane, the guy that we praised so much, a guy that we said before this sort of matchup started that Backlund was this big step up for them in the mid lane. He has been shut down this game, and Rippy, the Cyclone sub, if there were any worries about synergy coming into this for a double sub team, doesn't look like it's the case for Cyclone right now.
Yeah, and another point we mentioned was these AD carry picks, right? Jhin versus Ashe. Ashe has been one that's kind of fallen down the priority list somewhat. Basically, CS, we were questioning whether Berserker was going to be lacking synergy or anything. Obviously, we're still very early in the game, so it's hard to tell in the grand scheme of things. But certainly, Berserker's been doing a good job since leaving GLB. He seems to be very happy in this lineup.
Yeah, I think I think throughout his career in the UK scene, Lemonite, or now, like you said, now as Berserker, has never found like the absolute top tiers of, I guess, success. But
I think he's always been a very good AD carry.
He's been a very solid, dependable AD carry, but he's never been on a team that's found huge amounts of success. But now he seems to settle in with Cyclone quite nicely, and while the bot lane hasn't exactly popped off, they've definitely held their own against Inax and Prosfair, who a lot of people were saying before, you know, Inax came into this season for ESL Premiership, he was the new Deadly. You know, Inax was this guy that you had to watch out for because he was an up-and-coming AD carry, he was very, very talented.
I mean, he used to be called Inax the God, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to name yourself that, you've got to live up to that reputation. So far this season, he definitely has been. Berserker, as you rightly say, got his work cut out in this series specifically to live up to his opponent. But so far, despite the gold lead, even though it is ever so slight, just 1,000 gold at 12 minutes, I mean, that is a decent gold lead, but it's not the end of the world.
No.
Still feels like XNX are the ones that are pushing these lanes in. You do see Rippy heading down, but sees better of it, and I think maybe heads towards Dragon.
The top lane, we were expecting that though. You know, post Tiamat for Fiora, even with the Sunfire or Barmy Cinder, Kerberos is just not going to be able to contend, and Sankas knows that. He is just going to put on the pressure.
Yeah, Kerberos is not having a fun time in this lane. The Vitals will be popped. The heal comes out. Shikari barely even takes damage from their tower. Will get healed up once again. Traded for a Cloud Drake, so at least there's something for Cyclone, but when your mid laner rotates down as well as your jungler, you leave that top open bare. Second tier goes down.
Okay, Munch, how many times in the past have I said, why is this team not using Fiora correctly? How many times have I said that, do you think? Quite a lot?
A lot of times.
This team's using Fiora correctly. I can't believe it. XNX finally know their win condition, and it's the fact that they exploit the weakness in the top lane. That matchup is bad for Shen. He can't contend with the wave push of the Fiora post Tiamat. And look at Sankas. He knows that that's the weakness. And like a good assassin, he's driving the dagger into the wound.
Here we go. Ultimate's burned here. Camilius getting slowed down. The crit lands onto Berserker. He's less than half. Flash ultimate comes out. Camilius gets the stand united, though. That is going to be just a single kill for Cyclone. Teleport from Shikari. You said about Fiora, he's in the wrong situation.
Yeah.
Shikari just about gets away. Heal comes on out just to save him. Flash forward from Rippy. Can they finish these flashing health bars? Kerberos goes under their tower. Doesn't have his taunt available, though. Will walk away. Has that Sunfire Cape, so can tank a few shots. It's just a single kill for Cyclone.
Just as I praised them for the Fiora use. I mean, actually, I'm not going to tell you that that was a bad Fiora play. There were 3 low HP targets at the back line. Fiora had her flash available as well as the ability to dive in.
Oh, we're going again. Prosper just gets eliminated from the situation. Shields come out. Cyclone, while they have multiple blinking health bars on their side, they walk away with their lives and 2 kills.
But what you do need to note here is they didn't lose a structure for that. That was a successful defense from XNX. They managed to weather that storm that Cyclone were throwing at them. and they end up keeping their bot lane tier 1. And actually, with Backlund in the mid lane now, he is going to shove that in and start to put pressure onto that tier 1 in the mid lane. So it's not a bad outcome. I think Fiora is actually going to swap now, by the way. It looks like Fiora is going to swap down to the bot lane and put pressure down there with Ashe.
And importantly, in this meta of tower trading, XNX are now 1-0, make that 2-0 up in towers, or 3-1, but you know, the ratio is certainly in their favor by 2. And that means that now, despite how great of a lead it was for Cyclone, despite the fact they are on triple the kills of XNX, they're on the back foot.
Yeah. And that's kind of how powerful structures are, an objective, focused gameplay. This is how far it can get you. Never mind the skirmishes that you get locked into, never mind the team fights that don't go your way. If you suddenly have a huge global objective lead, you will just end up either being even or ahead despite what's happened on the field in terms of kills. What the question for XNX now is, Munchables, where do they go from this point in time? Where are they going to put their laners? Are they just going to go into a 1-3-1 with Backlund in the top lane pushing against the Shen? Because you have to swap Fiora out at this point in time. There's not really many objectives left for her to take. Taking an inhibitor turret is too risky in a split push scenario without ample pressure in the mid lane. You know, you can't have no mid lane tier 1 take and take the inhibitor in the top lane because it's far too easy for the enemy to react and rotate. So she's going to have to go to the bot lane, start shoving, and attempt to get that bot lane tier 2. But realistically, whoa!
Goodbye, Camilius. The cone attacks come in. Shutdown comes through for Sankus. So a good skirmish for XNX. But can they turn it into more? The answer's no. Sankus goes down. It's traded support for jungler.
And that will shut down a potential push in that mid lane. I think a lot of that was set up to try and then push into the mid lane tier 1. This will be the Achilles heel for XNX at this point in time. If they don't get that mid lane tier 1 soon, they will limit what they can do in terms of pushing in the side lanes. Getting that mid lane tier 1 opens up the ability to get vision and also feel safe when pushing in the side lanes because you can open up that red side and blue side jungle nicely and keep tabs on the enemy team. At this point in time, Fiora will be very, very scared to push much further than that entrance to the blue side jungle near the tier 2 in the bot lane because that tier 1 in the mid lane makes it very, very difficult for the team to react and rotate properly.
So things have calmed down slightly now. We've had a pretty bloodthirsty game so far. We're getting towards 20 minutes now, and the gold is not far from even. We've got, what, 600 gold lead for XNX, but really nothing too significant. But I want to touch again on these mid laners, because we talked about them extensively at the start of this game. Backlund being this guy that, I mean, me personally, I was coming into this game saying, hey, Backlund is the guy to watch. This guy's been phenomenal. Currently 0-4, I've got to add. And he's going up against Rippy, who's making his debut performance. First time here in the Premiership, first time on Cyclone, 3-0-3. Already got his Morellos, heading towards a Leandries as well. This guy is going huge.
Yeah, he's having a great time thus far in the game. I also want to basically extend on to the point of potential mid laners and look at the itemization from Backlund, and on top of that, the itemization from XNX. They have both gone very early Quicksilver sashes here because they know, whoa.
Crossfair's caught. He's going to be going down. The speed at which Cyclone can get these picks is unreal.
Oh god, Backlund.
Oh, Backlund actually gets a stun onto Berserker. Can he finish it? A lot of damage coming down, but the heal will keep him alive. Blast Cone pulls Backlund to safety. Berserker's... Oh, why are you walking there? Backlund gets another kill. In fact, it was Sankus.
He had almost nowhere to go, I think, because he was forced back that way. Although I think he could have potentially rotated up with his team towards that tier 1 top. And yeah, again, actually, I'm going to agree with you. That was a really weird isolation. He didn't need to do that. But anyway, it does mean that you trade a tier 1 in the mid lane. And actually, this has worked out very well for XNX because they will happily take that tier 1 in trade for that tier 1 in the top lane. Because like I said, this opens up the map for them now. This makes that split push strategy with the Fiora all the more impressive and all the more easy to pull off.
Yeah, just look at the tower difference, 5-2. Despite the fact that they've not been winning the fights, they are still managing to build this lead up. Maybe it's not a huge lead in terms of gold, but it is a huge lead in terms of structure and in terms of map control thereafter. Obviously, we've got Cyclone. They've already got themselves a Cloud Drake earlier on in the game, and now they're starting off a second Cloud Drake as well. So, you know, there's this conversation of, you know, Cloud Drake might be the worst Drake, but when they start to stack up, it becomes significant.
And it's also significant for the fact that you will have to react to split pushers. And you know what's really good at reacting to split pushers with? Having a global speed buff for the team. So therefore, 2 Cloud Drakes allowing you to rotate more quickly, as well as rotate and make plays off the back of the Ash arrow. That's pretty solid. And you can see here, Cyclone kind of know what they want to achieve here. They don't want Fiora to step over her mark, and they're going to go for this tier 1, knowing that there isn't much pressure being applied to their structures. This is good response by Cyclone.
This is, even though it is a very slim advantage, this is one of the advantages of not having tier 2 towers. It's very difficult for your opponent to pressure your towers directly without going all the way to the inhibitors, putting themselves in a lot of danger. That's going to be bullet time used to just try and clear waves, but it's not going to be enough. Cyclone grab themselves a tier 2. Really nice rotational play. Here's a teleport, though. Shikari's going up towards the Baron. XNX are pushing for this one. Cyclone aren't backing away. They're going straight for the inhibitor. This is going to be a race of objectives. Inhibitor versus Baron. Which one is going to be stronger? Arrow comes through, but Prospere flashes. That is going to be the Baron going down. Enhanced recalls, but Kerberos is blocking them. Look at this. Hero play. Backlund gets away, though. He's looking for Cyclones, can't quite find it. Now the recalls come in. Inhibitor fell, though. Importantly, Cyclone got it. The slow comes down. Shockwave onto Backlund. They are going to finish the kill. Prospere goes down as well. Cyclone get themselves a double. They get the inhib, but it's not over yet. Sankuz is going in. Look at the health bars. Rippy flashes away. He's the last man remaining. Can he even survive this one? Sankuz still on the hunt right now. He's going to be chasing this one down, and well, he might have just found his target, but Rippy's not backing out without a fight. Gets the solo kill, and might just be able to walk away if he can get his dissonance off cooldown. Shikari can't chase that one.
What? I don't even know where to start. I just don't even know where to start.
Chaos! Chaos reigns in the UKC.
Let's take a quick look at here. This is after the Baron play had already happened, so this is just kind of the follow-up play. The more interesting part was before that, when this whole decision-making process was meant to be made. Essentially, they left Misfortune without any form of armor penetration or Black Cleaver to try and defend the waves by herself. She used her ultimate to buy time, and at that point, you know, basically the decision for XNX was made is we're going to go for Baron. I think we're pretty comfortable with the fact that we're going to lose an inhibitor, but we might be able to capitalize on it afterwards, and they did. So realistically, this is probably what XNX expected to happen, and given the fact that they've got a split pusher in the bot lane who can push waves, they're not going to be too fussed about having the inhibitor go down. Yeah,
that was the next thing I was going to bring up is, yes, they've lost the bottom lane inhibitor, but they've got a Fiora that wants to push in the bottom lane anyway, because that's the only lane with its tier 2.
With Baron minions left. So.
With Baron as well. So Shikari really doesn't mind pushing into those super minions. I feel like we sound kind of biased here, because we're just talking about how everything's going great for XNX, despite the fact that,
I don't know, you know, I think Cyclone had a fantastic game.
Yeah, it is a very close one, but in terms of that situation, I definitely agree that XNX kind of won out overall. But now Rippy heading up towards this top lane. In fact, everybody from Cyclone heading up here. And Backlund, he's not had a fun game so far. 1-5, and it might just be about to become 1-6. Camelius is not messing around. Instantly ultimates. Demo is going to be the first one to drop, though. Sankuz here on the front line now, trying to escape the ultimate use. Curtain Call just to buy time, and he gets a kill as well. Backlund the one to grab that one. And that is going to be enough to tell Cyclone to back off, because it's 2 kills for XNX.
Sankuz just bodied Demo there in the 1v1. What an insane sort of play by him to say, okay, we're stuck 2 versus 4. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ultimate and try and just pick someone off.
Let's make it 2 versus 3.
Exactly, and that was so good. And actually, pinpoint precision from Inax as well on that Jhin ultimate to actually do the majority of the damage to Camelius in the back line. The poison ended up finishing him off, but that is a turnaround that I think XNX will be very happy with. Cyclone thought that they were catching out of Cassiopeia. They ended up losing some of the members of their team.
Yeah, and some power spikes going to be coming through across the board as well. Obviously, Inax, he's finished his 3 core items, if you include boots as a core item. We just see Backlund finishing off his Archangel staff, so he will now have a shield in these fights, maybe reducing the amount of times he's been dying this game. And now we see this split push come into effect. We just mentioned the fact that Shikari can push into these super minions, and he's proving it here with the huge minion wave. Look at the damage. Backlund going deep for that one. Can't quite finish it onto Kerberos. Walks away with minimal HP remaining. Demo trying to find a way into this fight, but I don't think he's going to find his
second item on Shen, by the way. Ninja Tab Eyes, which obviously are incredibly powerful at the moment in this state of the game. Thorn Mail and Sunfire Cape. So Thorn Mail is the second completed tier 3 item here for Kerberos, knowing that in the 1v1 versus Fiora, he might actually just need that to straight up survive.
So we're going to have a little bit of a lull in the action here because it has been action-packed. I mean, I feel like I said this 10 minutes ago. I was like, okay, we've had an action-packed early game. We're going to have a lull here, and then immediately everything kicked off again for another solid 10 minutes. We are going to see that Cyclone are able to push out the lanes here. The siege ends. XNX have to back away, regroup, buy some items, get themselves kind of straight in their heads, work out where they want to go from here. And I mean, that is going to be the next question. Where do XNX go from here? They've got the lead, yes. They are down in Dragons, though, and the towers have now tied up. So where do XNX go? Because Baron buff is just about to end. The Baron's not going to be around for a long time now, and we've got a Mountain Drake about to spawn.
Mountain Drake will be key, I think, especially for someone like XNX, because they'll have that potential to push turrets very, very readily with that split push pressure that they've been trying to apply all game. However, I don't think they want to get locked up into a straight-up 5v5.
Look at this, though. Maybe a bit of rotational play. Curtain call used. Most of this can be avoided, though. Cyclone quite happy to walk into it, but it's just to zone people because they're pushing for an inhibitor. Inax just trying to stop this enemy team as XNX with a power play coming out right now. Get an inhibitor for free. Now the team fight will surely follow. Cyclone, you've got to punish them for this one. You can't allow this to be taken for free. Kerberos looking for a way in. Backlund misses his ultimate there, but Kerberos still can't find a way in. Heal onto the rest of the team. Demo on the backline, getting onto Prosper. Triple shockwave, but it's not really enough. Rippy can't solo kill these ones. Demo gets one kill, jumps back in, double for him. Backlund is about to go down, but it's traded back. Inax has arrived. Berserker, the last man standing. XNX, they're looking to finish off this fight, and actually there's potential for Nexus at this point. We're only 26 minutes in. Berserker has to flash, just about avoids the skill shots. XNX cannot end, but what a power play coming out from them.
I mean, that was the Cassiopeia bug that you sometimes see where you try to flash ultimate and you flash ultimate the wrong way. But again, that was something that I think Cyclone could have tried to punish harder. You had a XNX team that was completely split. I mean, Inax had no way, after using his ultimate already as well, of impacting a team fight if you kept him zoned away. But Cyclone weren't able to coordinate and capitalize. I think Berserker might have used his arrow and completely missed right at the start. I want to get another look at that. Oh, this is just a little bit after it. But at this point in time, you had 4 members who were completely zoned in your base. You could have boxed them in there with the Orianna, looked to basically punish them by having their AD carry split from the team entirely, but they didn't manage to do that, and somehow XNX come out on top again.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to praise Prosper. He's the brains behind this brawn that XNX have, and he's done a phenomenal draft phase, and the in-game shot calling. They say, do you know what? We know that you want this Mountain Drake, Cyclone, but we don't care. We're going to make sure that you're over there, and that means that we can just charge up the mid lane. Shikari now having to use his QSS there just to pull himself to safety, and that it will do. In the meantime, his team grabs that Mountain Drake. You said how important that's going to be for XNX. Now it's in their back pocket.
There is that inhibitor back up in the bot lane here, but remember, Kerberos is a very slow pushing champion on this Shen. He is not going to be threatening that inhibitor anytime soon, and if he does, you can just see Shikari shove that wave right back to him. Baron is the point of call, but I like the way that XNX are positioning here. They're shoving that mid lane wave very hard, saying to Cyclone, if you go for Baron, we're going to try and end the game. So you have to make a decision between the two. And now it means that XNX are able to recapitalize, move back down, and actually try and take the Baron for themselves.
And I love this use of... Oh, wow, here we go. Sankas isn't messing around. Stan United will keep Demo alive, and he turns this one around straight onto the back lane. It's going to cancel the ultimate. No, bullet time didn't quite come out, but Prospect goes down anyway. Guardian Angel coming through onto Demo, but he's stunned immediately and finished off. It's 2 for 2. Jungler and supports down.
Demo went a little bit too hard there. He could have allowed Kerberos to do most of the work, but he jumped over the side and isolated himself. What I would have liked to have seen was him to hold on to his jump, allow Kerberos to soak the damage, then have Rippy and Berserker come in, because if he'd saved the jump, he could have had the ball, he could have jumped in, he could have got a shockwave. There was a better way for Cyclone to run that fight, but they didn't quite manage to make it happen. But it's kind of an almost an even Stevens trade. You really haven't gained much for either side at this point in time. This game is still very close. You still could say XNX are in the driving seat, but how long can they keep this up? I mean, they look like they've been teetering slightly. Cyclone definitely look like they haven't really been threatening a win at this point in time, but XNX haven't looked like they're comfortably running away with it yet.
And look at the redemption for Backlund. He was 0-4-0 earlier in this game. He must have been at least 2,000 gold down in the mid lane. Now, he's 1,000 gold ahead. He has overtaken Rippy because of the control that XNX have had of this game. Now with a Mountain Drake to kind of give them an extra feather in their cap when it comes to this siege, when it comes to this split push. Shikari is going to be having a whale of a time down in that bottom lane. The bottom lane tier 2, I've got to say as well, is incredibly low on health already.
Yeah, and look at Inax's build now with the Edge of Night and the QSS. There's no way he's getting locked down. Inax is a safe man at this point in time. And another thing that you can often do with Jhin is you charge the Edge of Night and then you use the ultimate. If Ashe then tries to respond with an arrow immediately, often the Edge of Night will charge while you're using the ultimate and block it so you can continue to use your ultimate. So he's got a lot of protection here against the lockdown of the Ashe arrow and the Malzahar ultimate.
Yeah, I've got to say Berserker has been doing a very good job this game. We were semi-questioning the Ashe pickup, well, not necessarily questioning, but, you know, it's not a lethality AD carry, and that is a fairly big deal on this patch. He's basically a very similar scoreline to his opponent on XNX Inax. And he's also 30 CS. So when it comes to these fights, Berserker is going to be fine in terms of damage, but also he's been doing spectacularly with his crystalline arrows. There goes the bottom lane tier 2, and that means Kerberos is in a whole heap of trouble. Just got to proc a couple more vitals, and he will be able to do so. One more will finish off Kerberos. The three-headed beast, Guardian of Hell, goes down.
Yeah, and again, somehow Shikari still managing to dominate in this matchup. And this is what we said in Champ Select, that when you pick a Shen this early on, you do open yourself up to this kind of response. And look at this. This is probably going to be almost a Baron giveaway. Shikari has to go in.
Yeah, everybody has to come up to deal with Shikari. Look at the damage! He gets a solo kill! Rippy finishes him off in the end, but... oh my goodness, you can't afford to lose members like this. Shikari got 2 players and almost an inhibitor, and in the meantime, XNX are taking a Baron for free.
Yeah, well, that was expected given the response from Cyclone. I think they actually had to use Sankus and his ultimate to try and ward Demo away, because Demo knows that without Guardian Angel, he's pretty much a sitting duck for Rengar at this point in time. And I actually quite like that. I mean, a lot of people will hate it, but I like that Rengar's back to what I think Rengar should be played like. With the lethality changes, Rengar is back to full DPS Rengar. That annoying cat that one-shots you. I really didn't like about a month ago we were seeing tank Rengars. I always felt like they didn't really do much. But Sanka's showing us exactly what a full DPS Rengar can achieve.
Yeah, certainly has been. And, well, when you've got that full DPS Rengar jumping on your AD carry all game, although to be fair, I say this, realistically, Sanka's, he's not been jumping on the AD carries. He's not really found opportunities where he's got on Berserker or Rippy.
He's been killing Demo.
He's been 1v1ing Demo, he's been taking out Kerberos, and he's been finding opportunities where Camilius goes for his Nether Grasp onto someone, and Sanka says,
nope.
Nah, fam. Shuts him down immediately.
Still, this has been a close affair, to be honest. A lot closer than I think a lot of us were expecting. We were kind of saying before we were expecting XNX to kind of run away with it, given that Cyclone seemed on a little bit of a lull, and XNX were really in that powerhouse, top-of-the-table Premiership seat that they'd had pretty much for the last few weeks. Cyclone have put up a very good shout. Backlund locked up.
Oh, he used his QSS, which means the Nether Grasp does just about finish him off. I thought he was going to survive that Demo. One little bit of health finished off by Inax. Curtain Call, once again, perfect timing. Gets him onto Kerberos. Camilius solo, but Sankas can't finish the kill. Shikari can, though, and will be jumping straight onto the backline. Triple kill for Shikari. He's looking for Kerberos. He's looking for the game right now. There are no members remaining as the quadra kill comes through. XNX are going to go 1-0 in the series.
Wow, Shikari doing exactly what you expect the Euros to do. When they actually come away from their split push, they try and become that monstrous goal-poaching, kill-stealing carry that just jumps on the backline and cleans things up. And Shikari, you've got to say, was a huge factor in the win here for XNX. That Fiora pick worked boundless amounts for them.
Yeah, and I've got to give credit to Cyclone. They did a good job this game. They held their own. They certainly weren't just pushed over like a lot of